Welcome to a football show, Victory Monday here. That is Paul Karski. I am Braden Gall, brought to you by Sinkers Beverages. Please get into the comment section. Victory Monday, Predemption. That is correct. Good afternoon, lads, from Eddie. There you go. I assume people will be fired up today. Paul Karski back safe and sound from the desert. A little earlier today because we thought, you know what, not as important. We hear from Brian Callahan and the coaching staff and the folks today after what took place on Sunday and one of the most improbable wins I have ever seen the Tennessee Titans pull out. PK, safe travels. How are you, sir?
I'm well. I'm not happy with how this hoodie looks on air. I will express that. It is Chelsea. So I was wearing it for Glennon at the press conference since Chelsea beat Liverpool, but
Nice.
it does not
That's
look
true.
good on here. So I apologize for that. I have a
My-
master shirt on underneath. I might show that off soon.
Okay. My Gunners could not go up to Liverpool and get 3 points earlier this season. It was a tough loss for Arsenal.
This was at Stamford Bridge, but
Yeah.
very, very impressive. I watched on the plane ride second half, and Chelsea played phenomenally well.
There you go. Somebody needs to knock those boys off their pedestal. So good job, Chelsea. Okay, all right. So lots of stuff to get to. The losing streak is snapped. Cam Ward has his first victory. All it took was a snap off Kyler Murray's face inside the Tennessee red zone, a boneheaded Deshaun Jackson style fumble at the goal line after the worst run fit I've ever seen a Titans defense put together. One of the most bizarre and improbable touchdowns I think I've ever seen any team score. So honestly, it doesn't really matter. We'll get to sort of the details of the game, and PK, we'll work through everything. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it was luck, if it was execution. This team, the Tennessee Titans, were down 21-6. Could have been much worse, should have been much worse multiple times. And they figured out a way, somehow, to win one of the most improbable games of all time. And I am curious, because it is both. It is luck and execution. And I am curious what you think this means for the players and for the young players in particular, for the young coaches in particular. What do you think this means for the team?
Well, first off, they are completely capable of getting those three big breaks and not finding a way to win that game. So while it was a gift in Glendale, they still had to go on three pretty impressive drives to win it. The yardage out of those three drives, by the way, I think 192 yards, was more yards than they gained offensively in the opener at Denver, against the Rams at home, and a week earlier in Houston. That fourth quarter yardage just from those three drives, and that may have been all the possession they had in the fourth quarter.
It was
192 yards, more than they had in 3 games. So that really tells you about where they are. But this team is completely capable of not having taken advantage of those miscues by the Cardinals. So that's an important note. As to what it does for them, I don't think we know until we see them play at least one more game, but maybe more than that. The Raiders are a mess and not good. But it's Pete Carroll. It's Pete Carroll against Brian Callahan. It's Pete Carroll against Brian Callahan with the Raiders at home. The Titans haven't shown an ability to play a 4-quarter game, a 3-quarter game. Anything beyond this one great quarter where they were gifted multiple things. And so what they can turn that into is really going to be telling about them, about their psyche, about their quality of play, about their ability to play bigger than they are as a whole, and about the coaching staff, starting with Brian Callahan. So a lot of that's yet to be written, and it gives us a lot more intrigue going into this weekend.
That is correct. And Titans fans hope that they have now seen what it can look like at its best, because that fourth quarter included a lot of its best. The best throw Cam Ward has made as a professional, the 38-yard fade route outside the numbers, which is one of his most inaccurate throws of his sort of repertoire, makes an absolutely perfect throw to Calvin Ridley with 34 seconds to go when it has to happen. And if you look at, it's not just Cam Ward. And we'll get to all of this, all of the things that Cam was or wasn't, all the things that the receiving core was and wasn't, all of these things. But at the end of the day, the final, after the long drive, like I guess it wasn't a long drive, but after the drive and the DeMarcado fumble, where it is, again, the reason the Titans make the comeback, and this is all that you kind of need to say about this. The reason the Titans make the comeback is because they had one of the worst runs that a defense can possibly put together. He was 4 yards downfield from the line of scrimmage, and no one could touch him.
It's that parting of the Red Sea. I mean, it was crazily bad.
It happens when you're selling out to stop the run. Like I get that, but without that play and without being so bad on that play, they don't have the opportunity to then be so good. And I know you guys, a lot of you diehards know all of this stuff, but I just want to reiterate it for those that didn't. Which is, after the fumble, they get the ball on the 20-yard line. They go 6 plays, 80 yards. That's the longest play from scrimmage. Another 47-yarder to Ridley over the middle.
And the longest drive of the year.
6 plays, 80 yards, 2 minutes, 14 seconds, touchdown. Now, we'll get to the going for 2 and the extra points and all the critical stuff we can be in. But let's celebrate for a second. Then the defense goes, all right, I got you. 3 plays, 1 yard, punt. Next drive, 8 plays, 61 yards, and the craziest touchdown we've all ever seen. But again, now you're at 141 yards, to your point, PK. 6 plays, 15 yards, punt for the defense's next possession. So they gave up 1 first down after that DeMarcado should have been touchdown run. And then they go 11 plays, 71 yards, fairly methodically, fairly consistently and efficiently with the long Ridley throw. It was the best drive. It was the best throw. It was the best quarter. It was the best job the receivers have done. It was probably the best job the offensive line has done. It was the best job the defense has done at tackling, at covering. It was the best football we have seen from this team the entire season across the board. And you had to have all the luck for that to matter, but you still had to go out and do it. And so it's both things. If somebody argues with you and says, oh, they got lucky, they did. If someone argues with you, well, they had to go out and win it. Well, they did. And so that matters to people.
Absolutely. And, I think the rest of the year, no matter what they do, good or bad, you're always going to point to that quarter. Say, look, no matter that the Cardinals gifted them a bunch of stuff, offensively and defensively, they're capable of playing the football that they played the fourth quarter in Glendale, Arizona. So where is that? If they go away from that, if they turn back into the team that they were for four games and 3 quarters, pretty much for all of that, you could say where's the accuracy that Cam Ward showed? Where are the hands and the yak that the receivers showed? Where is the stoutness that the defense showed? Where's all that? We could stop short of a PAT from Joey Sly. That was the one moment in that. And then more broadly, I think Brian Callahan got off the hook for some things. He managed the clock very well in that fourth quarter. So we could say, where's the clock management of that? The game management of that, because he got away with some poor game management overall. But, take that quarter, cut it out, put it up on the wall, right, and make that the target.
And I do think it matters for young players. I do think it matters for a rookie quarterback to see it, feel it, and know what it is. I think you have to do it before you can believe it. And I think when Brian Callahan answered your question about hopelessness, it was that very emotion that a lot of those guys probably felt on the ride back, which is, and I'm not talking about Jeffery Simmons. I'm not talking about L'Jarius Sneed, who's won a Super Bowl. I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about the whole host of the last 2 draft classes and the young offensive linemen and the young quarterback and the young receivers who need to feel what it's like to do something like that, even if it was gifted to you.
Yes.
Don't let it go. Like, they didn't let it go to waste. And the value of that, the value of never quit, like, it's all the cliche stuff we try to teach our kids. Never quit, never give up, positive attitude, work your ass off. It's all that stuff. And the only way that comeback is possible, yes, the Cardinals had to give it to you, but you had to do something with it once they gave it to you. And I think that there's a tremendous value. To your point, we have no idea if it actually matters. We have no idea if it's going to click in 6 weeks from now, 10 weeks from now, never, tomorrow. We don't know. But it's about what they learn from that, and then how do they take it and build on the confidence, because that is what has to happen. That has to happen. If Cam Ward's going to be a pro, if Brian Callahan's going to keep his job, if the Titans are going to make progress, it has to be built off of how they feel, I know that's weird and nebulous, but it has to be built off what they feel coming out of that game.
Let's talk a little bit about retroactivity, because this is another thing fans are having problems with. I wrote, during the game, I tweeted Cam Ward is all over the place. His accuracy is a major issue. And then people come at me after the game. Well, what about now?
He was 3 of 12.
Still, his completion percentage through 3 quarters was 38%. And people seem to have real problems with the idea that a good fourth quarter somehow erases what has happened. There's nothing wrong with what I said. Through 3 quarters, his accuracy was a major issue. Or people come at me about the resiliency and the what's the other word? Resilient and relentless. Well, what about the resiliency and the relentlessness? Well, they showed some resiliency and some relentlessness in the fourth quarter of their 5th game. Does this offer absolution for everything they've done before? I knew I was going to get some of it in the locker room. I knew it. And I walked in and one guy right away, Paul, and I turned and I said sharply, we're not going to do this thing where we pretend that what you just did erases the first 4 weeks, are we? And he said, no.
This is a player? This is a player?
Yeah. No, but this was pretty good, And I said, this was great. Congratulations. Great win. But let's not do this thing where we pretend it has anything to do with the last 4 weeks. And fans get caught up in this thing. Like the Titans had a great win yesterday. Circumstances be damned. Let's call it. Well, it's a great win. Great for the team. All of that has no bearing on the previous 4 weeks. None. Cam Ward's accuracy, which was great in the fourth quarter, has no bearing on what he did the 3 quarters prior. Don't come at me with that shit. It's nonsensical. It's illogical.
He was 3 of 12 in the second quarter. You know how hard it is in 2025 to be 3 of 12.
And Io Manor clearly dropped one. Helm clearly dropped one. Io Manor had another one he should catch. But the 2 deep balls, one up each side, I think they were both for DK. Terrible throws. Bunch of other throws. Terrible throws. And he should not come out of that game. You should not come out of that game. His coaches should not come out of that game thinking that the accuracy thing is fixed. He's got an accuracy problem right now, a big one. And this is one of the things that was an issue for him coming out of college. And it is not fixed by any means.
So I want to get I find this to be fascinating because I was already texting James Foster at halftime, assuming a terrible loss. I was texting Foster saying, look, I need to see film cut up of all of the almost completions because I've got to figure out what's happening here. Because in this game, there were 2 to Io Manor in the first half. There was one, I think it was Ridley on a seam. Then there was Lockett over the middle where the ball's a little behind him. Then Chestnut, and it's all because it looks like plays that the receivers should make. But it also looks like there's just like 2% too much heat on the pass. I don't know what the coaches are saying to him. Like we saw it with Chig down the seam in Nashville. We just have seen that thing happen too much where it hits a guy in the hands and they can't make the play. And I'm not 100% sure.
I don't think that. So a lot of these plays weren't near guys' hands. The 2 deep ones were nowhere.
No. I'm talking about the drops. I'm talking about the drops.
The drops.
The drops are like it's getting to the point where it's happening so frequently with so many different players that I'm starting to think it's got to be a little bit more on Cam than I thought. You know what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense? Like when it happens to everybody and it's happening similarly, right? Where it's coming in, it's hitting you in the hands, but it's probably a little too hot. Part of me thinks you got to catch that shit.
Catch it.
Like that's your job. But they are like, does that also mean that Cam can learn that he's throwing to a bunch of rookies or a bunch of old guys? Like, I don't know. And so Ridley's different. Ridley's ones he largely has needed to catch. Those are the ones that he's the veteran. He makes $90 million. He's the one who's got to catch the ball. But I was halfway through that game going, I need to see a cut up of every one of these almost catches where it kind of hits the hands, but it's a really tough catch. And I think it's on both people because if it keeps happening week in and week out to all the receivers, then it's not just the receivers. There's got to be some adjustment from Cam Ward. And I'm not putting it all on him. And he's a rookie and I'm not throwing him out off the team here. Okay. But like, I think that is there is something there. The Chestnut pass where he was lined up as a fullback, which I actually think is pretty creative. Like that's a catch he's got to make, but also Cam you could have floated it a little bit more. So I feel like that's what I was feeling halfway through the game was some of this is on Cam, some of this is on the other guy.
That's creative to put Chestnut in the backfield and throw to him. I don't see it as creative. I see it as asinine. Tony Pollard can catch, and Tyjae Spears, who you haven't had access to for 4 weeks, can catch. And so you decide to throw it to your back who can't catch. Why?
Well, but the scheme is designed to draw attention to Pollard and slip the fullback out. I mean, that's the whole point.
That's
right?
great, but Chestnut can't catch. So let's scheme to get the ball to a guy who can't catch.
Irrelevant. But again, if he just floats it just a bit, it's a very catchable pass. It's a very catchable pass. So again, I agree. Cam Ward has to know who he's throwing
or Pollard
to.
Catch that ball?
Of course, but they might not be open like Chestnut is because maybe he can't catch. So I hear you. That was my thought at halftime. And so the thing somebody asked you this on your pod, Sinkers Beverages, by the way, make sure you search Uber Eats for Sinkers Beverages, have the booze delivered directly to your house, 4-time liquor store of the year. Somebody asked you this, and I'm paraphrasing here, sort of his question and your response, which is basically like, I don't think it's the 3 quarters aren't what Cam is, and the fourth quarter is probably more what Cam is. And maybe this is just what Cam Ward is. And you when you responded to that question on your pod, Paul Karski podcast, on your YouTube page, your sort of response was, well, what about the first 3 quarters and what about the first 4 weeks? How do we just ignore all of that and just assume that Cam Ward is the player we saw in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I took it as this is who Cam is. He was saying the fourth quarter is.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And your answer to that is correct.
But you read the question differently.
I heard it differently when I was listening, and I heard the question, and maybe I'm right or wrong. I don't know what he actually meant. But I heard the question as the game in totality is maybe just what Cam Ward is. And that is a young rookie quarterback who still needs to learn how to deliver the football to certain players, who doesn't have great pocket presence, who's a little inaccurate down the field. But when it's good, he does special things because he has special talent. And I think that could be an accurate picture of what Cam Ward is today. And if, unfortunately, for a guy who stays perfectly even all the time, you cannot survive in the NFL with a game that is that volatile up and down from a fourth quarter to, 3 of 12 passing in the second quarter. So that's how I heard the question. It may not be what he meant.
That's fair. If that was the question, I agree with you on the volatility, but we also haven't seen enough of the good part, the carry the team part, the hit everybody, with perfect passes in perfect spots for a stretch that gets them 19 points part.
And I think we can get some of the comments here because there's a lot of you guys, and I appreciate it. Share the show, thumbs up, notifications turned on, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, etc. Please tell folks to come on in. C. Rich says, it seemed to me that he was rushing everything through 3 quarters until he realized he didn't have to in the fourth. He is more comfortable in a no-huddle shotgun offense. You know how many snaps he took at Miami under center the entire season?
17.
4. 4 snaps under center. He did it a bunch, I think, against Arizona, actually. So
the thing is, the league right now is trending towards the teams who are having the most success are going back under center more and running more too tight. And that's not how the Titans are trending. Not that you have to trend with the trend, but that's where the success is coming.
Yeah, that is true. Eddie says, Ward does need to learn to throw with some touch. Not everything needs to be a fastball. Give me a changeup. But he can't do that. I think he can. He's got to learn. Jay, poor scheme makes for tight windows throws. The scheme, by all film account we've watched, the scheme is getting people into the right places. The receivers have dropped the ball. Quarterback has made some mistakes, and the offensive line hasn't blocked particularly well throughout the
NFL is a tight window game.
Right, exactly.
You're not finding a lot of guys wide open unless you've got a busted coverage. Look at the catch that Harrison made with Jalen Armour-Davis and Woods draped on him. It's a go make a play game.
And to your point about like why doesn't the yak happen, the creativity happen? Like Chigakonkwo is a perfect example. He's looked so good in the fourth quarter. He's like breaking ankles in the open field in the fourth quarter and non-existent. And C. Rich goes, I'd love to see more 2 tight end formations. I mean, Gunnar Helm dropped the pass in the first and then comes back and makes one of the best over-the-shoulder throw catches to help the team score their first touchdown. Like, they are young. They are going to be inconsistent in a lot of these pieces.
Let's ask this. I mean, who do you think it's indicting when Brandon Crenshaw Dixon and Corey Levin are on the field regularly as tackle eligibles? It's Gunnar Helm. Gunnar Helm can't block sufficiently, and they're putting tackles on the field to play that role. And it worked. Also, by the way, side note, Crenshaw Dixon played more snaps yesterday as tackle eligible than Isaiah Wilson played in his entire career.
Which I believe is the same number of snaps that Cam Ward took under center at Miami.
That's right. 4 is the magic number that you got to get over. I think Crenshaw Dixon played at least 7.
That's true. That's true. Look, Jay says they seem to be open against us, though. That's because it's not the offensive coach's scheme that's the problem on defense, Jay. I don't feel like I need to explain that one too long.
I mean, Jalen Armour-Davis is not getting the job done. They see something in him, and they're counting on him getting better. He's not very good right now. Yeah. I think Darrell Baker has sunk, but I would right now, if you ask me who I'd rather see Darrell Baker.
So again, I think what I find interesting about the Cam Ward game in general is I think you're seeing sort of some of the worst of him and some of the best of him. And I do think that is to be expected in game 5 for a rookie quarterback on a bad team. I just don't think that is, I'm not making excuses here for him because halfway through that game, I'm going, take the trade back, you know?
Oh, my story was they've got a Cam Ward problem. And I know other guys in the press box were thinking about calling for him to sit.
Okay, that I don't know about that. I don't know.
I mean, the sit and take some time to figure things out.
Okay.
Not because they have better alternative, but because they thought he needed to get his head straight.
Well, and I'm trying to process the like how calm and cool and collected he is when it comes to like there are certain moments that feel like there's these. Like the urgency, maybe he's not there. I don't know. There was a moment where he got hit in the pocket and then he kind of just like stood there and got hit again. There was the first couple of games where he was snapping the ball kind of really lackadaisically. And it's almost like his sort of personality of just stay super calm all the time was kind of affecting some really minor things in the game and like footwork and pocket presence. And I just think some of that he's going to have to finally tune that stuff. And I think he's got to accelerate some of that stuff. In general, I mean, I thought they were taking their time on the final drive, but I didn't have a problem with it. They hit the long, but I mean, they were in their own side of the field with 34 seconds to go, so it wasn't like they had picked up a bunch of chunk plays. So I don't know. I think there's a little urgency.
Managed it well.
They did. Otherwise, I think if that is what Cam Ward is, I think there is reason to believe that he can build more of the fourth quarter and even out the game. Because that's kind of how he functions. So I would be optimistic based on what you saw in the fourth quarter. I don't think it erases the first 4 games in the first 3 quarters, but I do think it puts a different context on it.
Yeah. Go to Trevor's question really quickly there because I'm doing some research for him.
Did Kevin Winston play on any defense or just on special teams? I only remember him on special teams.
Yeah, he played 21 snaps, which is 70% of special teams, and that's it. The intent was for him to play Mike Brown's role. And I think that's probably where he's going to be for the time being. I anticipate as Winston comes on and when they're ready for him to have a defensive role, which I think, you know, if his speed is there and everything, and it looks good on special teams to them and everything, I don't see how they're not going to feel compelled to put him there. I think you're going to want to flip him with Diggs. And I don't think Diggs is going to take that well. And I think that's something to monitor.
Okay. Keep an eye on that. I think Winston is just too talented to keep him off the field if he's ready to go. But I do think they're playing the long game with him, and I think that's smart. We could talk about a few other rookies here. Femi Oladejo looked like that is not a good game by my eye. I have not watched the film on that, but they did get some passes.
Completely a long play. I mean,
I know.
There's no short play to him.
The thing was, every time I noticed Oladejo, it's when he was spying Murray and out of position, or on that last possession where they almost score on the touch. The long run where he kind of pinches down and they run right away from him. I did notice Jaheed Ward, like he was active and running around. Arden Key, of course, had his one big moment, but Jeffery Simmons we got to spend a second on Jeffery Simmons, because while the game was still totally out of hand and the Cardinals were dominating, Jeffery Simmons was the best player on the field, but by a pretty large margin for either team. And the guy is playing extraordinary football. And in the fourth quarter, on those 3 drives, it felt like he got some support at getting after the ball carrier and the quarterback. And I thought Ward was the one that I noticed the most yesterday. I don't know about you.
And Draymond Jones fell on a fumble, made the first play of his Titans career, right? So that's a big occasion. I mean, Simmons is just hard to fathom right now, considering how little help he has. I think a lot of people are presuming like it's going to get even better when Sweat's out there. I don't know why Sweat gets so much benefit of the doubt. I mean, I think Sweat could come back and do well. I think Sweat could come back and be bad. So I don't know what to expect from Sweat, but I think too many people are just presuming Sweat's going to come back and be good.
All right, and you're not reporting that. You're just saying I don't think we know what he's going to be. Is that what
I don't
you're
think
saying?
we know what he's going to be,
Okay.
but I think he's been grouped, shall we say, with the guy who got traded.
Okay. Have you guys talked about how and how much Roger was used yesterday? Talking about Roger McCreary, I assume. We have not discussed Roger McCreary. I saw him out there plenty.
I got to look at the snap counts. I know that they
I'll check it.
played a lot of big nickel or the like. McCreary played 54% of the snaps, and Diggs played 56% of the snaps. So they basically split it. So that is probably as little as you'll see Roger McCreary in a game.
Yeah.
But look, they've got McBride there, and he's in the slot a lot, and that's not an ideal scenario for McCreary. So I can understand the intent there.
Cam is like a 3. This is from Playboy. Cam is like a streaky 3-point shooter. If he starts out slow, it's hard for him to hit the rest of his shots. He needs to get better at hitting the layups early, so that his shots are ready for the second half.
He's starting off slow a lot.
I don't hate the analogy though. Like, I mean, there are plenty of 3-point shooters that, have those like 7 of 10 nights, and then they go 1 of 8 the next night, And so you got to, that's not necessarily what you want as your quarterback. And I have a feeling that's not what Brian Callahan wants when he talks about take what the defense gives you, be satisfied with the mundane, execute and be efficient. They're looking for the big man who's a 62% shooter.
Yeah. Well, where are the 7 of 10 nights is the question outside of that fourth quarter.
Yeah.
His overall completion percentage at the end, at the half, and at the end of the third quarter, his overall completion percentage for the season was under 50%.
Yeah. And you can't blame
it takes
all that
more
on
than drops. It takes more
Yeah.
than drops to get down that low. Go to Eddie here, because obviously I say something and then people take it to an extreme. I did not say they want to trade Sweat. I said I think he falls in the same department in terms of them having some concerns about him as the guy they traded. Can we differentiate that? I think we can.
Let's see here. Is it weird that there are much less penalties on the defense after they traded Jarvis Brownlee?
No, it's not weird. He committed a lot of penalties, and now he's not here to commit a lot of penalties.
Yeah. Let's see. Cam's timing from Daniel. Cam's timing looked its best this year in the last quarter of the game. Hopefully he keeps it going. Yep, I agree with that.
Seemed kind of again, you can make the 3-pointer analogy. You can make a lot of analogies, but he's playing like without thinking as much.
It's playing fast. The O-line, Ed says, the O-line seemingly played better the last couple of weeks. It still wasn't great, but they ran the football fairly well between the tackles early in the game. And again, if they ever get in a situation, here's what's funny, PK.
I've got a power issue. Hold on a second.
Yeah. If they ever get if they ever get into a situation, and I don't know how you guys in the audience feel about this, if they ever do get into a situation where they have to run the football, which truly separates, like, running the football is like, it feels like a luxury for most college and pro teams, but there are moments of games where you have to run the football, which is with the lead in the fourth quarter, short yardage goal line situations, and maybe bad weather. And when you have to run the football, I do think I've seen from Pollard and the interior trio, when healthy, that they can run the football in the A and B gaps. Like they are going to be able to do some of that, especially against teams that maybe don't have, Vita Vea in the middle or whatever.
With a max of 11 yards. Like,
sure.
miss a run and say, how long was that? And I go, oh, well, that's Pollard. You know, it was 11 yards. That's as far as
Didn't he
Pollard
have like a
goes.
16-yarder last
He had
week or something
one,
like that?
one bigger one, I think. But overall, he's an 11-yard guy, which is fine. I mean, you just have to understand his limitations. And they did not have breakaway potential from running back with him.
You think that's on him, or you think that's on? I mean, I don't think he's a burner, but like they're not getting a lot of help from their tackles, so that means ends and backers. Is Ward's success in the fourth quarter because Arizona was playing in a zone and made it easy? Will time tell? This is from Ed.
I do think. I mean, Arizona, on top of the 3 mistakes they made that we're talking about, was sitting on a lead. But I mean, they went into kind of a prevent mentality. It felt like that, and honestly, I mean, it was stupid. And in hindsight, when the mistakes come out, it kills them. But if you're up 21, what was it? 21-6?
Yeah.
If you're up 21-6 against the Titans based on what they've shown you,
I'm
should be
it
game over.
Yeah, I'm playing it safe. Let's see here. Paul, look, we're not going to ask you to ask questions, but why doesn't Cam hit the flat defender early in the game in the first quarter? I feel like he passed up on the flat and on every
You want him
drive.
to hit the flat defender, or you want him to hit the flat target?
Flat target is what I would assume he meant there. Flat receiver.
I mean, if you're going to ask me to ask a question, how about you construct the question?
Well, why doesn't Cam throw it to the underneath defender more often, Brian?
Yeah, I'm not. I generally am not seeking questions.
No, I know. No, you're not. I think DK as a returner has been 3rd or 4th most effective player on the entire team. Yeah, unfortunately, he takes the ball to the 35-yard line, and then you poop on yourself.
I think you could say. I mean, I'm wondering who this guy has between Simmons and DK.
If I didn't have a
name
right
defender.
away,
it's not a defender.
Yeah. To the question about no, I don't.
Where are all the Io Manners #1 receiver people today? Come on out, raise your hand.
I don't have any names to offer you in between. Who's better at their job than DK is right now at his job?
Simmons.
Other than Simmons. So here's the thing about this question, going back to Ed's question about the success against Arizona playing the zone. I think what's really interesting is on the most important play of the game and his best throw as a professional quarterback, the coverage is sort of like illogical. Like what are you doing rolling up in press man against Calvin Ridley with 34 seconds to go when he's got all this space outside the numbers to work? Like it was just an insane decision by Arizona. And what I love is that they saw it right away. They recognized it, and Cam didn't hesitate. Ridley called for it right, and they executed the play exactly.
Skoronski is second. A lot of people are saying, and they're correct.
That's fair. I'm about to piss off PK. According to Orlovsky, Ward's tape is incredible. He's better than we thought. If the Titans do right with him and around him, he'll be a top 8 player easily. I don't think it's going to be easy.
I don't think he's watching enough tape.
I don't doubt you. Victory Monday from Sam, Skoronski from Donnie, Skoronski from Sis, all crew, all true. I'd
so that gets us to DK being 3rd.
Okay. Which
I'm comfortable putting DK at 3rd. By the way, special teams was shit yesterday. You got a missed PAT. I mean, the DK return was good, and that offsets a lot. How many of the penalties were on special teams?
They were bad, and he had a couple good punt returns. Over 8 or 10 yards, and that's a solid punt return. So
yeah,
there was a couple of decent punt returns.
He was good.
He's been good.
But the missed PAT is terrible, and they should have gone for 2 on the first one, and too many penalties.
Rapid Reaction says Cedric Gray climbing quickly. I don't disagree with that.
Against the run,
against the run, he is really, really good. He still has major problems in zone coverage, but we'll see if he can fix that. Sean says, were there no penalties on the offensive line at all yesterday? Was it 0 penalties? That can't be right. Was there illegal formation? I feel like there was
illegal formation on a kick team, I think.
Okay. That's what I thought. Sam says, with Lathan coming back soon and the offensive line seeming to improve, can we get cautiously optimistic, risky Sam, that they may actually develop into a plus unit as the season goes along?
I mean, I think they deserve a little credit for Udo. The last 2 weeks has played reasonably well. The offensive line hasn't been a reason for their difficulties the last 2 weeks. I mean, that 4th and 10 it seemed pretty obvious they shouldn't have snapped the ball, considering that 3 guys didn't move when the ball was snapped. And so that was a bad sack that looked like it was on Moore or Spears, but probably wasn't on anybody. So I think they're trending in the right direction. And I will say, Sam says Gray looks nice. Barton's been a bit of a disappointment. Blake Bedingfield wrote that he thinks Barton, he's not wild about Barton either, but he did a scouting report on Barton in today's file and kind of said some of what Barton is doing is helping Gray and even helping Simmons. So take that. But yeah, I think I expected more out of Barton in terms of flash plays.
All the biggest flash plays I can think of are negative. Like I'm not saying he's not doing a lot of the little things right, but like the big moments I remember, like 4th and 1 against the Rams, is sort of a missed tackle. Yep. And I'm not saying that's the whole season. I'm just saying those are the ones I remember. C. Rich says, is Pollard signed past this year? He is, but there's an out.
Yeah, they're getting out of it. Pollard will not be the starting running back on this team next year, and they will draft one. Now, they don't need to draft one in the top 3 rounds. You know where they are, but that they can't draft one in spots where they can draft an edge, a receiver, or a corner, or even maybe an offensive lineman.
I do think as the season has gone along, and I know we're only 5 games in, but doing the work and shamelessly, you can check out PK where I kind of give everybody a breakdown of what's going on with draft prospects through the lens of the Tennessee Titans, paulkarski.com. Sinkers Beverages, Shotgun Willie's Barbecue, by the way. Thank you. I do think the big change, I think, not the change, but like the thing that is slowly happening in my brain as I write that each week is the amount of offensive, like it's the whole draft Joe Burrow and then come back and draft Jamar Chase thing the very next year. Like, and I'm not saying they should draft a receiver at number 4. That's not what I'm saying. But the idea that running back, receiver, maybe even a superstar playmaker at tight end, like Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon, who's a first-round pick, and that maybe isn't the right decision. But offensive line, that like they have to have a somebody in the pipeline behind Kevin Zeitler. I don't know how long Lloyd Cushenberry is going to be.
I think Slater. I think in their view, Slater is Kevin Zeitler's replacement. I would hope.
Okay.
I mean, at some point, you've got to have a non-top 2-round offensive lineman pan out for you. Otherwise, you're spending draft capital on offensive line nonstop, and you end up doing something like not drafting an edge in the first round since 2010.
I do think, and I think, was it you and I that talked about this on Monday of last week? Maybe it was Nick and I can't remember which episode, but I do think that the trade back strategy from 1, 2, or 3, because they looked like a number 1 pick team up until the 4th quarter, on Sunday. I think the lack of a clear-cut number 1 option at receiver, at edge rusher, and at corner allows you to find value at those positions if you want to trade back. And so I do think I'm always team trade back, but I think in particular, once you've taken the quarterback, there is no Myles Garrett in this draft class. There is no Jeremiah Smith. That's next year. There is no there's no Derek Stingley out of LSU the year that he was drafted in the top 5. There's none of those guys in this class. So you can move back to 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 and find somebody that you think might be as good. And so I do think it's a good year to have a bunch of needs and try to collect a bunch of capital. But that's a different, that's a different.
Where are you getting Bain? You think? I mean, it's way early for this.
Unless Bain is so good, and I don't know. He's a little undersized, so I don't know if he's a clear cut number 1 guy. You
think he's the first non-quarterback? Conceivable. Who's the first non-quarterback if you're picking right now?
Caleb Downs, safety out of Ohio State, would be in the mix. I don't think the Titans go there. I do think Ruben Bain is in the mix. I think Peter Woods and TJ Parker are there.
All pass rushers.
Sam, he's shorter. He's not going to be the 6'5" defensive end. He's like a 6'2" kind of sawed off is what I mean, Sam. About Ruben Bain. They're all solid. And there's a few guys in there. I don't think you're going to get running back or receiver or tight end, although Sadiq looks like he's trending towards the top 10. Maybe, Caden Proctor is having a coming out party for Alabama the last couple of weeks. He was considered to be the top offensive lineman. There's the kid at Miami, Fuango, I believe is his name, the offensive tackle. I assume the Titans are not taking a tackle in the top 10.
So right now, how comfortable, what's the lid on how far you'd be comfortable with them trading out?
That's a really good question.
So last time they did this, they went all the way to 16. Then they came back to 8. got a pretty good haul. And obviously they
Um,
turned that haul into a draft that included Derrick Henry and Byard. Well, picks that included.
K. Dodd is saying get Keldrick Falk from Auburn at edge. He's a really talented player. Needs some consistency there. There's a few other names that are going to move up boards, of course. But if you go Bain, Falk, Parker, and Woods, Downs, and I'm kind of focusing on defense here because I don't think there's a receiver that belongs in the conversation. And next year's draft class, the 27 draft class, is where there's going to be three.
Well, I'm not waiting until 27. I want them coming out of this with, say, 3 picks in the top 2 rounds and hitting receiver, edge, and corner.
You know what it honestly could be, and this is just a random kind of half-baked idea, is the trade down to 3 or 4, and then a second trade down to 8, 9, or 10 as the quarterbacks are still available.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
And you move down twice. You collect a first next year, then you move down and collect 2 2s this year or something like that. And all of a sudden you still can draft TJ Parker. You could still draft, maybe Keldrick Falk is available. You could still get one of those guys. There's about 6 or 7 non-quarterbacks that are all extremely valuable, I think, in that top 10 or 12. And that doesn't include tackles either. So the tackles are going to go, right? There's probably a couple tackles that are taken. Jeremiah Love is moving up boards. I don't know. That's not a guy they're going to be, the running back out of Notre Dame. That's not a guy they're going to be interested in. But the more and more I look at the draft class, there's more and more talent at running back, at receiver, at tight end, and offensive line spread out through the first 3 rounds. And I think the Titans need more of that than I expected. And so I think there is going to be a blending of those. And again, it's too early in the process, but I do think there's a blending of the need with the trade back and collect picks in that top 50,
We're
top 80.
Billion miles away from this.
Yeah.
I know there'll be offensive line talent there, but I think they're on the hook for more for 2 years. And I would have trouble with them going tackle, considering the desperation at edge, at corner now, and at receiver, where it's clear they don't have, they need one of these guys like Ibuka,
Ibuka, hey, that's my guy. That's the guy I love.
I mean, he's tremendous.
He's unbelievable. I am curious about Simmons' contract. Are you on board with they're going to opt out. Like we just talked about opting out of Pollard's contract. They're going to opt out of a few other contracts as well. There's a couple guys that need to be re-signed. McCreary and Chig are out of contracts, but there's also some guys that they can opt out of. And one of them, of course, is Jeffery Simmons. Is that
well, they're not going to opt out of Simmons. They love to keep Simmons under what he has next year's no remaining guaranteed money. And I think it's a very favorable contract for the Titans. Simmons is going to want out of that contract and make noise.
Or an extension. I guess
he's going to want an extension with some new guaranteed money. And so that's part of what you're deciding if you get trade offers for him. Are you going to give him a new deal after this season? Because that's what he's going to expect. And quite frankly, what he's worth given the way he's playing. And so all those factors go in. So I think, Liz, a lot of people are saying, like, don't trade your best guy. You're just going to need to go get another interior defensive lineman. I'm willing, in the big picture, to say, give me a 5th round interior defensive lineman if I can get 2 picks. And with those 2 picks, the 5th rounder would be an interior defensive lineman, and the 2nd rounder would be a corner or an edge or a receiver, players that tend to impact games in. Not that Jeff is not impacting games in a big way, but those are like, if we give a positional hierarchy, I think the Titans need to do better with the positional hierarchy.
Getting 2 picks in 27 is key, says Eddie. There's going to be some sick edges and wide receivers in that draft, especially at wide receiver. I think that's the year that you get a second pick if you can. And you have Jeremiah Smith, you have Ryan Williams, you have Cam Coleman, all 3 of which will be top 10 picks and are all 3 going to be superstars on Sundays.
That sounds beautiful, but they need to get some players now.
I hear you. I think the edge seems like the smartest play in this year's draft, and then stockpile picks by trading down. What if we go 13-4 and don't draft until the 20s, says K. Dodd? Well, I want whatever you're smoking there, buddy.
Yeah, then they're screwed.
Ridley is due $26 million and $27 million cap.
Ridley's
cap.
Gone.
He's gone. So Pollard and Ridley and maybe Simmons, Chig and McCreary and Snead, they're going to have
a lot of roster replenishing. I keep referring to this. I did a pod in the spring last year, and I said that 2025 needed to be a last year where you said you had too many needs to fill in 1 year. And it's clear that's not the case. We're going to 2025 needed to be the year. 2026, we're going to have the exact same conversation. Too much to handle in one off season. Now, 2027 needs to be that year, and it's hard to envision that.
Jason says, was feeling pretty good after the game until I watched the Pats. I think Vrabel is going to come into Nissan and give this team an enema.
Listen, that is, yeah. Well, you go enema. You've gone backside. I've gone more like a knifing. I've said that the Nissan Stadium turf will need to be washed to clean up blood.
The blood.
You think it'll need to be washed to clean up poop?
Oh, okay. All right.
I think one is worse than the other. The blood. That is such a Vrabel night. Such a Vrabel night. Primetime game against what a lot of people are thinking is the best, if not one of the top 3 teams in the league, and finds a way. And gets Stephon Diggs in a revenge mode, in a controlled revenge mode that plays perfectly. Drake May, by all accounts, I didn't get to see the game, obviously, but
was Drake May good? Was Drake May good here in Nashville last year?
That is a Vrabel classic.
Yeah, imagine what Vrabel could do with a quarterback. How about this? Playboy says, don't we have $130 million in cap space? Do you think we re-sign Simmons just because we have so much money? Makes it easier.
I mean,
let's say it.
I think I think that's such a double entendre there too.
Yeah. With the enema, it's real complicated.
You don't re-sign a guy just because you have the money. I mean, the big debate in my all 22 room is like, there's a segment of guys, or at least one guy that's very strong. Like, you do not trade your best player. You don't get better by trading your best player for picks that you don't know the future of. And the other side of it is he doesn't fit the timetable, and you need to do things that fit the timetable.
Yeah.
And I'm split on that. I mean, I think Jeff has done a remarkable job this season, not just with his play, but with his revised leadership.
And I know this is unfair to the player in question here, or any player, but players are motivated by uncertainty in their financial future, like all humans. Like all humans, it's natural. It doesn't mean he didn't play hard before, but he came into camp in a certain way and is showing it. And if he does that, and if you think you know him well enough to understand that when he says, this is how I'm going to be the rest of my career, because frankly, it will prolong his career to be lighter and to be more dominant. When you are the aggressor and when you are lighter and you are faster and more wise and more mature, you should last longer in the league. So playing this way should extend his own career. And so if you talk to him behind closed doors and you feel comfortable that he says, this is what I'm going to be from here on out, I don't think having a superstar defensive tackle playing at the height of his skills with a ton of cap space is absolutely a thing that's worthwhile to do. So,
and you've seen him get money before. So, money makes guys more of what they are. What is Jeff Simmons? You should have a pretty good handle on it in terms of how the contract's going to hit him. A lot of guys you worry, like, hey, they're playing their ass off. Contract years are great. The year after you get the money, with a lot of guys is not so good. I think with Simmons, you worry less about that.
Seekers Beverages, our great and amazing sponsor. And of course, you've got Shotgun Willie's Barbecue. I took my daughter on Sunday to Shotgun Willie's Barbecue. She had some brisket for the first time. She loves it. She got the cornbread. She likes to eat. So I can share a platter with her because she'll eat the burnt ends, and she'll eat the cornbread, and she'll eat the mac and cheese and the pickles. And then I eat the magic green beans and the rest of the brisket. Have a little lemonade and sweet tea mixed together there, as is tradition when you're eating barbecue. Shotgun Willie's Barbecue right there off of Briley Parkway, just 10 minutes from Nissan Stadium. And Sinkers Beverages, of course, allocations. They got all kinds of great drops. They had one on Friday, and if you sign up for the in-crowd, you get a little email that says, hey, look at all this cool stuff we're going to put out on the floor today, and you get there first, and you have first access to it. So sign up for the in-crowd. They don't hit you with a lot of spam. It's not like that. It's like once or twice a year they're going to say, hey, we got some cool stuff. Why don't you come check us out? You're going to want to be involved in the in-crowd. They got great events. They got tastings every weekend, award-winning liquor store, award-winning beer fridge, THC corner. They got the whole deal. So check it out. I'm trying to scroll up here because somebody asked about, are we letting Callahan kind of off the hook from the game? And I wanted to go back to that question because I do. The one thing that I disagree with And I want to let's see if I can't find it here. It's way back in the comments. But the
Well,
one thing, let me the one thing like the going forward on 4th and 10. In barely plus territory with almost a minute to go, it seems odd to me. That one bothered me a little bit.
I don't think they intended to snap the ball.
Maybe you're right.
I mean, that doesn't forgive it, but I don't think they
not
intended to snap the ball.
the not going for 2.
Bad.
I know what the analytics say, and I know what traditional sort of like coach thinking currently in 2025 says. I personally am always sort of like keep it at a 1-possession game as long as possible. And I know the other theory on that is learn what you need as soon as possible, right? And so I see both sides of that one. I don't think it's as cut and dry, but I do think, I guess the analytics world says that this is what you're supposed to do. That's not the way I've played football, in terms of growing up and watching the game and how I've studied the game. Like I've always thought you want to keep it at 1 possession as long as possible. And I know that there's some thinking that goes the other way on that one. So I don't kill him for it, but it didn't work out.
Well, when you have an unreliable field goal kicker that they have now, a PAT kicker, I think, I don't know if you factor that in too, but there is potential for your guy to miss an extra point. As ridiculous as that seems. Also, he punted 4th and 1, 4th and 2, 4th and 3. He said, well, if it's 4th and inches, we would have gone for it. 4th and 1 versus 4th and inches seems a little bit of a minor distinction.
Yep. All right. So last one here is I got a bunch of texts, or I got texts from a good friend of mine, good listener here. And that is our boy Joe. And he was he's excited about the win, but he's a pretty honest broker of his fandom, I think, like a lot of the PK audience and a lot of a 440 audience. And he basically is drawing a bunch of Steve McNair comparisons, not in how they play, because I think in how they play, it's not really comparable. Steve McNair had almost 700 yards rushing, over 100 carries and 8 touchdowns, and was sort of an explosive runner, whereas Cam Ward clearly does not want to do that and is not. It's not his strength at all. I don't think. But the comparison was more drawn, PK, around he's young, and in his rookie season, he kind of struggled to run an offense from the pocket as a true passing quarterback, and that the team wasn't all that great around him, and that as it got better with McNair, like when crunch time hit in the 4th quarter, McNair was at his best, and that as the team around him got better, you add Frank Wycheck, you add Eddie George, you add Derek Mason, you add Kevin Dyson, you add these pieces, and he kind of became himself and flourished. And so I was curious if you think there's any fairness in that comparison at all. My instinct was to say, no, don't do that. This is, there's a lot of reasons why people might draw the comparisons because you just came off this historic 4th quarter. I don't know. Like, I think Cam is much further along as a passer coming into the NFL than Steve was. What do you make of the sort of the similarities in the story and the narrative and the environment around the player?
Just a little bit. I mean, the circumstances have to be a big part of this, and the circumstances are quite different. Steve, just the thing that's similar is a guy who could struggle for a long time and pull out a game late with play that you were like, where was that? But Steve's play, the where was that, also came with oftentimes a clutch run or two mixed in. Cam is not a runner like that, so it divides there. And also his team was different. I mean, Eddie George was the centerpiece of the Titans for virtually all of Steve's career until Eddie got hurt and they turned it over. Remember that story about Fisher and Heimerdinger sharing a bottle of wine and talking about kind of making it more of Steve's thing. But in Steve's early passing, the kind of mythology is kind of changed, and it's become more Steve's team and less Eddie's team. And Eddie very graciously has kind of let that happen. He hadn't fought against it. It would be very weird to kind of fight against it. But this is Cam's team already. And Tony Pollard doesn't hold that Eddie George role in any respect. And so I think there's just too many dissimilarities to line it up outside of what I said. Here's a young guy who couldn't figure it out for 3 quarters and then had a really nice statistical job, did a really nice statistical job, threw some really good balls and was clutch. I think that's what people want, is the clutchness to match up. And for that fourth quarter, the clutchness did match up. Different brand, more throwing, less running, but McNairish. But I wouldn't get carried away with that.
It feels like Jeter's the guy that a lot of people go to and they're like, oh, just the guy was just clutch. And I feel like if you're a great player, no matter what sport you're playing, like you should be great all the time. If you're great. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to be. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to make mistakes, and you're going to have smart throws and bad throws. But the volatility of that game yesterday for Cam Ward is not what you want him to be. And I don't remember. I guess I don't remember Steve McNair in '95, like '96 when he was a backup. I moved here the same year that the Titans sort of moved to Tennessee in Memphis, and I didn't see him as much until they got here. But that clutch thing is like, I don't even know what the right question is about clutch, because being great in the fourth quarter is great, but you cannot count on the team to do what the Cardinals did and expect that to be the way you're going to survive and win games. You have to play more evenly, more efficiently throughout your entire game.
The other thing about Cam, he's very level, and he speaks very candidly and everything. And McNair was very level like that. But I asked Cam, I think it was maybe the last question, like, you're very level with us and you've had some time to cool off, but what was it like in there? Like, did you let yourself actually kind of celebrate when you were in there? And he didn't really share too much. He made it more about Nick Holtz and Nick Holtz celebrating and having told him that they were going to win. But
Nick Holtz is the personality that drives the celebrating.
A little look into the celebration. I could tell you, it was damn loud. Now the door in that stadium between the press conference room and the locker room is, very direct entry. So there wasn't a lot to buffer it, but we heard quite a celebration.
Well, and I think was it the completion I think it was the completion to Ridley with 35 seconds to go, where he is smiling. Cam Ward is smiling, running down the field, yelling and pumping his fist, and
as
looks like, hey, this looks like I can do this. This is fun. We're playing ball here. I'm having a good time. And I agree. That's the moment where you should celebrate. So Daniel says, Cam reminds me of McNair a little later in his career, where his mobility declined and started keeping his eyes downfield instead of tucking and running. So, okay, maybe there's an interesting comparison. That's not how it was brought to me. It was early Cam and early Steve not being very good for most of the game, and then being able to turn a switch and flip it on. Also, the difference in those Titans defenses were elite.
Good.
Elite defenses on those Titans teams. So Cam gets tripped up on all those fingertip tackles where Mahomes somehow figures it out. He's not getting a lot of help right now in terms of the pressure on him, but the offensive line's slowly getting better. J.C. Latham should be back. So Sinkers Beverages, Shotgun Willie's Barbecue. What else do you have for the good folks, PK? What do you got coming up on the website this week?
Well, I think, remember there was a story, I did a story early in camp about grading, the quarterbacks grading their throws, and had either Hardegree or Holtz and Callahan talking about how they graded throws. And so my film guy, Drew Beatty, is in line with their kind of grading system, and he's going to look at the best and the worst of Cam out of this game, kind of on that grading scale. And which kind of answer the question, how could he be so bad and so good in the same 60 minutes of football play? So that's coming Wednesday, and got some planning to do for the rest of it, but it'll all be good. Come take part, paulkuharski.com.
And make sure you swing by. Make sure you come by on Thursday. Nick Suss and I, of course, on a football show. We've got the Gold Standard as the Predator season opens on Thursday evening. You got an Open Cup championship for Nashville SC, so check out Club and Country. We got Music City Audible, Hot Read Podcast, Paul Karski Podcast, Stillman and Company, who you might be hearing a little bit more Stillman next week, as I am out of town next week. But so we're gonna put.
He apologizes in advance. Oh, I might be hearing him.
You guys might be working together.
Yeah, because we all know what you get out of Stillman is a calm, measured host to set up a platform for talent. So a football show next week featuring Jared Stillman with Paul Kaharski sitting in the corner.
Anything else?
No, that's good.
You're not going to fight with him? I wanted to see you. I want to see you guys fight. That's what I want.
No, this news depresses me.
Okay. Well, it won't be he's going to just dabble. He's going to dabble. So we'll see.
No, he's not.
We'll see. We'll see. I haven't made any decisions yet. We haven't made any decisions yet.
He's going to dabble. How naive are you?
I'm going to have him do college football. Okay. And I got other folks lined up to do the Preds. So we'll see. Nobody puts PK
you have him paired with people. That's a mistake. He's not a pairable person.
Terrible person.
He's a terrible person. He's not a pairable.
Wow, he is not. Okay, all right. He's not a terrible person. He's not a terrible person. I will stand up for that.
Person at pairing with someone.
Okay. You just get along with everybody nicely too. So, famously, that's your MO.
I'm pairable. I'm here with you. We have a pleasant time.
I do. Yeah, it's been nice.
Used to work with two guys. We did a fine show.
All right, you done?
Yeah.
All right.
It's yours to wrap. I
hear you. PaulKarski.com, Sinkers Beverages, Shotgun Willie's Barbecue, all the great shows across the 440 Sports Network. Let's see if they can go get a dub on Sunday again. Otherwise, Suss and I back on Thursday for a football show. For Paul Karski, I'm Braden Gall. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
See you.